Why is the Vortex red dot sight a fast sight to use? Does it have battery cap problems? And is it hard to mount? Hi, I'm Tina from Target Tamers, and we purchased the Vortex Venom red dot sight to answer these questions. So I'll cover mounting the optics, a battery cap compartment, and more to really determine if it is a viable red dot sight for your needs. So the first things you got to know about it is that it's non-magnified. So 1 times magnification, it's approximately 1 by 1 by 1.75 inches in size, my measurements. It weighs like nothing. Again, my measurements. It has the Dr. Noblex footprint, 1 MOA adjustments, and a 6 MOA dot with red illumination. Now, the Vortex Venom has been around for a long time, so there is some question as to its current place in today's market. Now, I think the Vortex Venom is exactly what it's supposed to be. It's an affordable pistol red dot sight from an authoritative sports optics manufacturer. Now, I say affordable because if you look at similar alternatives to the Vortex Venom, they're in the same price range, especially if you're looking at other well-known manufacturers like Burris, Crimson Trace, and Holosun, and more. Now, considering that pistol sights can cost like $500, staying under $250-ish is the cheaper route to go, but of course there are some trade-offs with that. Now, there can be improvements made to the Vortex Venom, but then that would tack on extra cost, right? And at that point you may as well opt for the Vortex Razor red dot sight. So as it stands right now, it is an entry-level pistol sight, and it's not going to be for everyone, but for the average person or someone who is looking for a cheaper alternative to the Leupold Delta Point Pro, the Trijicon RMR, and even the Vortex Razor, it is a good sight to consider. I mounted the Vortex Venom to a 6-hour P320 X-Carry pistol, and it was a breeze for me. I used a Vortex Venom plate and longer 648 mounting screws that I had purchased through EGW, that's Evolution Gunworks, and it fit like a glove. Now, yes, it was an extra cost, and in my experience, that's usually the case when you're mounting optics to handguns in general. Now, even though it was easy for me, that might not be the case for everyone else, and so don't get confused with those little screws that are included in the box. They're actually intended for mounting the Venom to the included Picatinny rail. So you will need longer mounting screws, especially if you're using an adapter plate. There is no way around that. It's an inconvenience and, yes, an extra cost. Now, mounting the Venom to that Picatinny rail is so easy to do. Throw 2 out of the 3 screws that are included in the box and use the included T15 Torx wrench, and it's done and done. In that setup, it is a low profile and did great on my Ruger 1022, and I did need to throw it on a riser mount to go on my AR. So is it hard to mount? It's not difficult if you have the right slide cut or the right adapter plate. Just make sure you have those longer screws. So I want to speak on the battery compartment really quick. I know this is a sore point for many buyers, and I know I've done my fair share complaining about red dot sight battery caps. Now, for once, I didn't have a problem with it. It's easy to with the tool to access the battery cap, and you see how the frame, it doesn't come back far enough to inhibit access to it right there. Now, screwing it back in, that's usually where buyers run into trouble. What you want to do is apply downward pressure and then thread it in the anti-clockwise, so reverse thread it. What it's supposedly doing is seating the cap into the threading. You'll feel and hear a click, and then go ahead and secure it by threading it in the clockwise direction. So I have had a battery cap pop out of the micro pistol red dot sight and hit me in the face. It's incredibly annoying and embarrassing. So I can understand the frustration of having a stink red dot sight battery cap. And I'm ecstatic that I'm happy with the Vortex Venom in this regard. So I'm taking a quick second to remind you that if you're learning something new in this review, please like and subscribe. Okay, that was more like 3 seconds, so let's get back to it. Now, the Vortex Venom is small, even for pistol sight standards. It has a 1.1 inch viewing window, and it is a little bit on the wide side, and from top to bottom, I think it comes up a little bit short. And this is why I think if you don't practice and get accustomed with the Vortex Venom, you could find yourself losing that dot or hunting for it if you don't have a strong index. Now, the lens has a single thin frame around it, and which is good, right? Because when you're using 2 eyes open, it essentially just disappears. But I'm worried about that if the sight takes a tumble and lands directly on its frame, that the glass will crack. To make it beefier, which I think it would definitely benefit from, would tack on some extra bulk, but in my opinion it's definitely worth the trade-off to increase that build durability. Now the Venom is waterproof. I have used it in the rain. It doesn't necessarily shed raindrops, but I could see past them. Now the side buttons are small and hard to depress. With gloves on, forget it, but I do like that there are two separate buttons to increase and decrease the brightness. Now overall it is a rugged little sight for many applications. I wouldn't say it's the toughest red dot sight around, which is why I would recommend an upgrade in the build quality for daily duty use, or if you're like an avid competition shooter. Now the glass is clear and on par with other red dot sights at the same price point. You can see the dichroic coating. It does make the sight picture quality slightly darker with some color loss. Now it's not noticeable when you're shooting with it because you're not focusing on it, right? But it is there. Now, like with most open red dot sights, that you do get some reflections of the rear part of the sight. And with the Vortex Venom, the elevation adjustment markings are glaringly obvious through glass lens. The 60 MOA dot is big and I like it. It makes for fast target acquisition. I mean, really easy to see that dot just pop up and appear there in your sight picture. The illumination is bright. The only downside I think is that the dimmest illumination is just a little bit too bright for low light and dark conditions. Even in manual mode, the dimmest setting did flare a little bit. In daylight conditions, I didn't have any problems with starbursting or flaring or anything like that. Now, as far as astigmatism goes, I think it could be a good option, but really only you can decide if it would work for you. I didn't have to use my glasses at all, even with that huge 6 MOA dot being far-sighted. So overall, the optics are decent for its price point. It's really comparable to other red dot sights in its price range. It's great for fast target acquisition, and the illumination is bright and perfect for daylight conditions. Now the Venom has 1 MOA adjustments and they are not tactile at all. You cannot hear them or feel them or get any sort of crispness or positive clicks from them at all. Now that is my biggest complaint about the Vortex Venom red dot sight, and unfortunately it is not unique to the Venom. In my experience, the Burris Fastfire 3 adjustments perform exactly the same. Now overall, I'd say the Venom is accurate. I've seen others run like a shim in their mounting system, but I don't feel the need to do so. I'm pretty happy with its performance for up to 25 yards on a handgun. So I define the Vortex Venom as a quality entry-level pistol sight. It's excellent for all-round use like plinking, target shooting, range use, and even some hunting. Now, if you're on a budget, it could work for competition use, a duty weapon, or on a home defense gun. But I would recommend upgrading to something with better build quality if you can afford it for those applications. But for the money, it does perform very much like its competition in the same price range. So like the Burris Fastfire 3 and even the Vortex Viper. So if you want to learn more about it, the Vortex Venom that is, I cover it all in detail in the written review. The link to that will be in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and get outside.